On Christmas Day, we heard the story of Christ's birth. Jesus entering into the human condition as a baby, as an infant, born into a family, Joseph and Mary. Today, on this Feast of the Holy Family, in the gospel that we hear, Jesus is in the temple. He's 12 years old. He's learning from the teachers, asking questions of the teachers, answering questions from the teachers. In just a matter of a few days, we've gone from the infancy of Jesus to now the child, the teenage Jesus. How time flies in our liturgical readings. But we are reminded on the Feast of the Holy Family that Jesus was raised by Joseph and Mary. And in our opening prayer today, there was a line, and it stood out to me as I was reflecting on the collect as I had seen it in the days leading up to today. In the prayer, we ask Almighty God that we might imitate them, the Holy Family, in practicing the virtues of family life. And I saw that phrase, virtues of family life. And I pondered over that and I thought, well, what are the virtues of family life? So we know that there are different virtues. So a virtue is really, a good action, a good deed, virtuous living, that we do what is right and moral and such. There are the theological virtues, faith, hope, and love, charity. There are the cardinal virtues, prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. And then in our lives, we choose to live virtuously, to live a godly life. So in this prayer today, that we may imitate them in practicing the virtues of family life. What are the virtues of family life? I think that there's a whole range of answers to this question. I don't think that I will exhaust. I just want to share maybe three that readily come to mind. Virtues of family life of the Holy Family. The first would be devotion, faithfulness. That the Holy Family, that they were devoted to God. They were devoted, quite literally, to raising the Son of God, the second person of the Trinity. But that they daily prayed. They were devoted and faithful. And so we translate that to the virtue of family life today. That's making prayer central to the life of the family. Praising God, thanking God, asking God. Thanking God at mealtime, praying at the beginning or at the end of the day, praying the rosary together, coming to Sunday Mass. This is devotion. This is faithfulness. Should be one of the virtues that we strive to practice in our family life. I would say, too, obedience. This is another virtue of family life. We see the obedience of the Holy Family today as they go to Jerusalem, that they obediently went. They're to go to the temple once a year. So they go. It says that Jesus was obedient to the family, to his parents, growing in age and wisdom. Obedience is to listen to and to respond, to put into action. So I am obedient to those that are around me when they ask for something. And so obedience is practiced in family life, and so it's a virtue. Maybe a husband being obedient to his wife, or a wife being obedient to her husband, a child being obedient to his or her parents. Obedience. And then a third virtue that just stands out to me is sacrificial love. That a virtue in family life is sacrificing our own wants, our own desires, and meeting the needs of the other person. That sometimes I might not be able to do this because it's better for me to do that in service of another person. It's sacrificial love. This is a virtue of Jesus's life, that he lays down his life for another person. And so we're called to that sacrificial love. And we think of Mary and Joseph and the sacrificial love that they showed one another, that they showed to the Christ child. These are just three virtues that readily I could think of, and there are many other virtues of family life. If we talk about virtue, though, we could also talk about vices, the vices that are maybe in family life, maybe the lack of faith and devotion and prayer or something, but maybe a lack of honesty or transparency. Those are vices that could creep in. I think as we enter soon into the new year, it's a wonderful opportunity for us maybe to identify a vice that has creeped into our family life. And if there is a vice there, you're going to know it because it unsettles you. And so to reject that vice and to work on eliminating that vice in the midst of your family life. And then identify one virtue that you and your family want to work on together. Maybe patience or love, understanding. Whatever the virtue is, make a resolution to work on it together. In our second reading from the letter of St. John today, it says that we receive from him whatever we ask. Well, let us ask the Lord to get rid of the vices of our life so that we might imitate Joseph and Mary and Jesus in practicing the virtues of family life.